this is very interesting that this radical Islamist terror attack was waged right now in the United States. As I said, while the FBI is so focused on these, these scary, scary terrorist parents who don't want their children being taught racism, don't want their children being taught that boys can be girls and girls can be boys, that the FBI has ignored the threat of radical Islamist terrorism. This is after, by the way, in August, the end of August, when Joe Biden gave Afghanistan to the Taliban, and our weapons, by the way, not just gave Afghanistan and our military weapons, our weapons of war to the Taliban. Al-Qaeda, meanwhile, still wants to kill us. The Taliban probably still wants to kill us. Iran does too. But here's what's really scary. On October 30th, there was a report from top officials at the Department of Homeland Security who were asked what the capacity of ISIS-K, of Al-Qaeda, of these radical Islamist terror groups to actually wage attacks against us here in the United States. And John Cohen, who is a top counterterrorism official, he said that there's been a surge of ISIS activity ever since Biden withdrew from Afghanistan. Oh, well, no kidding. No kidding. Thank you so much for stating the obvious. He goes, right now we're seeing a dramatic increase in online activity by media operations associated with different Al-Qaeda elements and Islamic State. So we know that they're agitating is basically what's happening. But then here's what Colin Kahl, who is the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, he told the Senate Armed Services Committee that ISIS-K and Al-Qaeda have increased their capacity to attack us here on our homeland since Biden withdrew from the United States. He said, I think the intelligence community currently assesses that both ISIS-K and Al-Qaeda have the intent to conduct external operations, including against the United States, but neither has the capacity to do so. Neither currently has the capacity. We could see ISIS-K generate that capability in somewhere between 6 or 12 months. I think the current assessment by the intelligence community is that Al-Qaeda would take a year or two to reconstruct that capability. Now, the reason why this is really scary is they say 6 months, 12 months, a year, 2 years, but these are the same people who assessed that Kabul that the Taliban wouldn't be able to retake Kabul for, 6 more months. And it was literally 1 week later when the Taliban took over and Joe Biden surrendered Afghanistan to the Taliban. So their timelines are a little bit off here. In addition to that, about a week after this, I believe it was, there was a mall in Virginia that was evacuated because of a radical Islamist terror threat. It was a bomb threat. Fortunately, nobody was killed. The bomb didn't go off. But to say that this is a threat that's simply going to happen down the road seems to me to be ridiculous, naive, and inaccurate. There is a terrorism in our country that we should fear. I don't mean we should live in fear, but there is a real threat on the lives of the American people, and it's radical Islamist terrorism that never went away. Joe Biden withdrawing from Afghanistan just is going to make this kind of terrorism on our homeland rear its ugly head, just like it did in Texas. And the fact that the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, doesn't recognize this, doesn't say this, doesn't acknowledge this, doesn't understand this, doesn't speak out strongly against this, identifying it for what it is, should scare the heck out of the American people. This is the exact opposite of what we want in a Federal Bureau of Investigation. If this is all they have to offer, then abolish them. They are good for nothing, and all they do is target the American people based on differences of political opinion. They're pathetic and they're dangerous.